Hey YouTube. Well, I'm here to talk about Pose, premiere of Pose. Now I don't do these series week by week, but I didn't want to miss out on my reaction to the premiere of this new episode. So sometimes I'll stop through. They covered a lot of different subjects in the series. So if it's something that I really want to talk about, then I will certainly review that episode. But let's start off with the premiere. Because this season 2, episode 1, of course, I'm sure it's not lost on anyone that this is Pride Month. So they chose the perfect time to have the premiere. Okay, so we start off with, this is 1990. Pray Tell and Blanca, which are the primary characters. Last year, I think the dancer, the kid that was a dancer who came to live in the house, he was one of the primary characters, or at least the first story that they covered. So we kind of got familiar with him right away. He barely gets a walk on in this particular episode. But they would carry, as I recall from last year or 2 years ago, they were covering different characters in each episode, right? So this one is primarily about Blanca and Pray Tell. Okay, so they're on a boat. So I said, oh, we're going to have a nice glamorous opening, right? They're on a boat to this island where it's full of unmarked graves. I guess they used to keep people there with tuberculosis. It was like a quarantine island. Now it's been used for all these bodies from all these thousands of people. Remember how big New York City is. So whatever funerals we were having around the country, New York was having more just because of the size of the city or the population. This island, and they just have grave after grave after grave in these huge ditches with just plain box graves. So they're going to visit someone who's recently passed. I think it's the guy who Pray Tell was seeing in the last season. He's died now. Pray Tell and Blanca both appear to be healthy, but we'll discuss that in a minute. Right. So next thing, speaking of health, when they get back to the mainland, Blanca is seeing her doctor, right? Her nurse Judy, which is I think a nurse practitioner, which is just a little less than a doctor. Anyway, this is the person who is very involved in the community, Nurse Judy. She tells her, Blanca says she feels great and all that. But the person tells her that she is in denial and that her T cells have slipped. So this is not the early 90s was not a pleasant time in many ways. It brings back a lot of memories that are not particularly wanted memories, but they are there. So many memories were triggered in my own personal self, right? At any rate, so she's gone. Her T cells have dropped below 200. At that time, and I believe maybe still at this same time, even now, the United States government declared that when your T cells went below 200, you had AIDS, right? And one thing was you qualify for a lot of benefits because now you were expected not to live. But, of course, things have changed a lot now. People can go from 0 T cells to hundreds in a matter of weeks. But at this time, this is devastating news for her. She has things she wants to accomplish for her house, for her children, as she calls them. And now they're telling her that she has AIDS, even though she still feels fine. Okay, they put her on AZT. They describe it as not being any kind of a cure, far from it, but it's what they had to work with at the time. And the trick was to stay alive until other medications became available. What makes this bearable is that we of course know the history, and I'm certainly aware of the history. I went through this myself, that these drugs did eventually come along and the lives were saved. So next thing we see is they're at a club. They're at their ball club, and they start playing Vogue by Madonna, which is I think basically where Pose. I thought this damn song was saying Pose, but it's saying Vogue. It was a popular dance, early 90s. Madonna's song was probably #1 hit at that time. So we leave the club. They show Angel. She's the pretty girl last year with the big fluffy hair, Puerto Rican girl. She is out on this pier turning tricks. See, they don't go into a lot of how these people support themselves. And she is still doing it the old-fashioned way. She's turning tricks. Blanca rolls up on her in a cab, pulls her off the corner and saying, "Girl, what are you going to do? I don't want you doing this and not living in the house." So Blanca said, "What else am I going to do?" You know. And Blanca tells us the idea that she is a pretty girl. She is keeping passable. See, she's a trans girl, but she knows she is clockable. Now, for me, in this episode so far, this season so far, she looks passable to me, Blanca. Now, of course, when you're in front of people, you can see shadow and stuff like that, but with the right makeup on the camera, she looks passable to me, but she doesn't consider herself to be passable. So she wants she wants Angel to go and audition for this Ford company modeling job, right? And they take her down there, and of course she wants the support of her and Poppy, who go down there with her. They said, "No, you guys stay out here, because if you come in with me, they're gonna clock you." This is what Blanca tells her, which is true, because many times I've seen girls who were passable. You would never think that they were trans, but if they were with a pack of trans girls, then you assume that they are trans as well, right? So what she's thinking has merit. She goes in. The woman tells her, "I need pictures." All she has is Polaroids that's probably been taken of her. She says, "No, we need real pictures." She said, "I don't have money for all that." So the woman who was in charge of this audition tells her, I got a friend. Here's his number. He'll give you my discount, but we got to have a portfolio on you, right? So we switch from that to this big meeting. Okay. So the Nurse Judy, is a friend of Praytel's, right? And she wants Praytel to attend this meeting of ACT UP. And ACT UP were the activists which were responsible for a lot of the advances in HIV medications, HIV progress, and benefits in the beginning. Praytel he's in like a depression. Well, this actually seems to bring him out of his depression, because now he has a purpose. So when he goes to this meeting, he falls in love with it, gives him some meaning. So they're planning a big protest, right? ACT UP is. They used to have situations where they would go and they were spearing blood all over the streets or lay in the streets, and they would do all these very dramatic type things. Well, they are going to have a big meeting at a Catholic church. Huge, beautiful church, conservative church. Of course, it's Catholic. Anyway, the church stance is abstinence is the solution to HIV transmission. But of course, we know that was not going to work for most people. So they staged this big sit-in at the church. Right. So it turns to be a big mess. The guys they're arrested. Well, before they get to the church, Blanca calls a meeting, or it's over the dinner table, and tells everybody in the house that she wants them to show up for this rally, or this protest. Right. Electra comes in. She's of course resistant. She's always on. She's always on, being the grand diva, you know. Anyway, so they all show up for this protest, except for Electra, who doesn't go. Right? She has other things to do. she's in furs and diamonds and things again, so we don't know where her income is coming from. She doesn't discuss it, but yeah. So we're gonna have some drama there. That'll be one of our first big dramatic scenes. But for the moment, she didn't show up. Okay, Angel goes to see this photographer that this woman has recommended, right? Photographer tells her how much it's going to cost and all that. She said, well, I don't have money for one photo. I don't have a lot of money. And then she kind of gives him kind of a, well, maybe we can work it out some kind of way, kind of thing. Remember, she's made her living as a prostitute. So he says, okay, we'll do the full shoot. I just want you to take some pictures with me, personal pictures with me afterwards. Right? She said, well, sounds like a fair deal, whatever. You know, she's always sold her body. But after they do the regular shoot, just the glamour shots for the portfolio, he then wants her to take nude pictures. So he has her take off her clothes, including her panties. So he wants to see it all. Now she's acting like a shy schoolgirl there. And at first I said, what the hell, what's she shy about? I mean, she's a prostitute. But the issue wasn't taking her clothes off. The issue was taking her clothes off in front of the camera. In front of the camera. If you're going to make up, you're living as a model, the very last thing you want to do is have a lot of pornographic or nude photos around that can be sold to magazines, porno magazines and such. And he wants to sell them the photographer has seen her on the pier, right? He's seen her out there. He knows she used to be a prostitute, whatever. He wants the pictures. He's got his own plan. So he can take nudes of her and sell them to porn magazines, right? So I guess part of her peeps that she should not be taking nude pictures. Plus, she really doesn't want people taking, she don't want her dick photographed, basically. She is presenting herself as a woman. And when she's totally nude, then she is a trans girl again. Kind of my take on it. Anyway. So he takes his nasty pictures. Okay. Blanca, her issue is she wants to go to this protest, right? She's told the whole house to show up there. And now her job wants her to work that Sunday. And she said, no, I have to go. And the woman said, no, you have to work. And they part ways. The woman says, maybe you should quit. And Blanca says, not a problem. I quit. So her thing is she tells this woman that she's going to come back and buy her out, kind of thing. So she quits her job. She joins the other girls. Now, so as far as I can tell, nobody in this house makes any money. Blanca had a job as doing nails in a salon. And Electra was bringing in money. A mystery as to where the money was coming from. But I don't think there's any other money coming in their house. So maybe Blanca gets some kind of benefits because of she's sick. But it seems like, anyway, I don't know how she's going to pay her rent, put it like that. All right, next thing, it's an act of protest. So they're all at the church. Did I already say this? They're already at the church. Turns out to be a big mess. They get arrested and so forth. Pretel is very upset with Electra because she should have been there with them. She wasn't. So next thing we see, this ball, something about Marie Antoinette was the character, or that period. And Blanca, she generally wins most of these balls. And she comes out in this very elaborate outfit with moving parts on her dress, on the bodice of her dress and kind of thing. And they actually decapitate her on stage, and they actually have a head that falls off. They do a little trick there. And then she comes out with a real head and all that. Anyway, it's very elaborate. She's the obvious winner. But instead of just giving her, announcing the winner and giving her props and her trophy, Pretel goes off on her, starts screaming at her from the stage. because she hadn't shown up for this protest. Now he's really gotten into this act up deal, right? And she said, "Oh, shut up! Give me my trophy." I don't know where she gets her accents from, but he said, "Yeah, I'll give it to you," and throws the big old. These trophies are as tall as a man, right? Throws it and breaks it on the floor, shatters it, by telling her that she did nothing to support her family. She was selfish, a selfish pig. My words. Okay. As we see, Angel is in. Let me see. Okay, so Angel is on the runway now, and she is one for some kind of realness, monoline realness. Should be a happy moment for her. You know, they do these balls apparently every week, so I'm sure she's won a lot of them, but she's won this one, and she's had the realization that she can only be a real model or taken seriously on this particular stage. And in the back of her mind is this thing with this photographer. She knows she is fucked up with that. So she's behind the stage and she's crying and she's telling Poppy. Poppy is the little straight boy who his connection with the family was that he was homeless and Blanca took an interest in him and he's been with them ever since. I think he does a little straight. He's very friendly with the girls and things and he lives in the house with them. But as far as we know, he's straight. But it seems to be that he is really, really kind of falling for Angel. So Angel tells him about what he did with this photographer, what she did with this photographer. So Poppy and Blanca and Angel go and visit this photographer. And they beat him up. You know, I'm not wild about violence, although I say that, although I love gangster movies. Anyway, sometimes you just need soldiers, right? So they're the soldiers. They stormtroop on his ass. They beat up the photographer, get the pictures back, and get the negatives. And the threat that if anything, if they have to come back there, you're going to get more than Poppy's fist. Right? So Angel, she goes back to the place, and she actually is chosen for the finalist for this, whatever this modeling job is. A modeling job or jobs is. Right. Okay. I mentioned there was a little bit of drama there. So Miss after the big ball where Praytel broke her trophy, Electric's trophy and all that, and they had he read her from the podium and all that. Now she shows up at this dinner. She shows up late. They confront her about why she got to always be so nasty and evil. And she doesn't set the table. She don't. Of course, Miss Electra's being grand again. She says this is a 99-cent meal. What's the big deal? Why should I have to come back here just to set up paper plates? And all this, she's being very grand, very drag queenish. And then at the end of this big speech of hers about how wonderful she is and what worthless pieces of shit they are, and how she doesn't really fit there or belong there. Remember, now she was the one who originally had the house. She very dramatically throws the dinner table. The food flies all over everywhere and all this kind of stuff. And she announces that she is leaving. She's leaving the squalor. So she ain't leaving the squalor for her own place. She just leaves that house and goes over there with the other girls. What's the other girl's name? Lulu and Candy. Those little queens that got their own house. She goes over there and announces to them that I am moving in. I'm joining your house. They move out of the way, let her just waltz right on in. Remember, now she wins all the trophies. So I guess it will be a plus for them. Anyway, that's what I don't remember the last scene, but that's kind of where they left it. It looks like Poppy and Angel are going to be an item based on the previews they showed us at the end. So it's a great premiere. Many parts of this show are going to be depressing, depending on where you were in this part of history. A lot of you guys are just younger people. It's going to be educational for you. So it's a great series. I'll come back periodically with something I want to talk about. But watch Pose on FX. All right, later, people.